Have you ever heard of this phrase? That is exactly what we're going to be learning in this lesson. We're going to be learning how to say please do and please don't in Japanese. Let's get right in. So in this lesson, we're going to go through 4 very important grammar points in Japanese. I'm going to be teaching you about te kudasai, naide, naide kudasai, and nakute. These grammar points are very important in order for you to make polite requests in Japanese. So to get started, the first grammar point is te kudasai. This form is basically used when we're making polite requests, when we're saying, please do this, or please do this action. In order to form te kudasai, we're taking the te form of an action and then adding kudasai. If you can recall, in my previous lesson, I taught you how to derive the te form of a ichidan verb and godan verb. Because we've done many conjugations on my channel, I'm going to omit the steps to get the te form. So let's look at some examples. With the verb tatsu, which is to stand, we have to take the te form, which is tatte, and then we add kudasai. This becomes tatte kudasai, which means please stand up. Let's look at another example. Miru is to look. Mite is the te form of miru, and therefore we add kudasai and form mite kudasai, which is please look. Again, these are polite requests where you're asking someone to do a specific action. Now let's look at an example sentence. Kusuri wo nonde kudasai. Kusuri wo nonde kudasai. Kusuri basically means medicine. Nonde kudasai is please drink or please take. Therefore, this sentence is please take the medicine or please drink the medicine. Again, the request here is for them to drink or to take the medicine. Now, if you don't want to make your request polite, you can omit kudasai. Kudasai alone just means please give me. But if we omit kudasai and simply just use the te form, we can make requests more bluntly. If we go back to the example tatte kudasai, if we just say tatte, that is stand up, and it's a request, except it is more blunt and it's not polite anymore. But that doesn't mean that it's rude, it's simply more casual. Now let's move on to the second grammar point, which is naide. Naide is basically the negative te form. We basically use naide when we're expressing that we're doing an action without doing another. It would be easier for me to explain using an example. For example, in the English sentence, I went to bed without eating. In this sentence, we're doing the action going to bed without doing another action, which is without eating. So in order to express this kind of sentence, we use naide, which is the negative te form. In order to get the negative te form, we first conjugate the verb to its negative form, which is something something nai. So for example, the verb nomu, which is to drink, turns into nomanai. And then we add dit to it. Nomanai turns into nomanaide. The reason why we're adding dit is because we treat nomanai like it's an i adjective. Although nomanai is derived from the action nomu, nomanai is the negative form of nomu, and we treat it like an i adjective, where nomanai means the state of not drinking. And therefore, we treat it like an i adjective. And so we add de, nomanaide. Once we derive the naide form, we can attach another action where we're saying we are doing that action without doing another action. So let's go back to that previous example. I went to bed without eating in Japanese is 食べないで寝ました. 食べないで寝ました. So we are doing the action 寝ました without doing the action 食べる, which is to eat. 食べないで寝ました. Let's look at another example. 朝ごはんを食べないで学校に行った. 朝ごはんを食べないで学校に行った. In this sentence, we are connecting 食べないで with 行った. Let's break this example sentence down. 朝ごはんを食べる means to eat breakfast. But we're using ないで, so we're doing another action without eating breakfast. What are we doing? 学校に行った. 学校に行った is going to school. So basically we are doing the action going to school without doing another action, which is to eat breakfast. Therefore, this sentence becomes I went to school without eating breakfast. And a more polite way of saying ないで is using the grammar ずに. ずに. So an example would be 食べずに. This means the exact same thing as 食べないで. 食べずに is the same thing as 食べないで. Basically, we take the root of the verb and add ずに. So if we look at the previous example, 朝ごはんを食べないで学校に行った. We can also say 朝ごはんを食べずに学校へ行った. This means the exact same thing, however, it's more polite. Now let's go back to making requests in Japanese. The reason why I taught you naide is because we use this when we're making a request to not do something. So instead of てください, we use ないでください. An example would be 食べないでください. Please don't eat it. Remember, 食べてください is please eat it. Please don't eat it is 食べないでください. And we use ないで. And remember, ないで means we're doing an action without doing another. Therefore, ないでください is please don't do a specific action. Let's look at some example sentences. タバコを吸わないでください. タバコを吸わないでください. Tabako is cigarettes. So therefore, this sentence means please don't smoke cigarettes here. And again, like てください, if we omit the ください at the end in ないでください, it becomes more blunt. 食べないで or 飲まないで or 吸わないで. These are all requests. However, it is more blunt. It is more casual than using ないでください. Now that you know how to say please do and please don't in Japanese, I'm going to add a bonus grammar point that you should know, which is なくて. This is the negative te form to connect clauses. What I mean by this is that this form is basically used when we're linking two clauses together where the first part is negative, and it's often used to express contrast, cause, or reasoning. So because we're dealing with clauses or ideas, we're usually dealing with adjectives or nouns. We basically conjugate an adjective into its negative form. For example, 甘い turns into 甘くない. And then we replace ない with なくて. So it becomes 甘くなくて. Now let's use 甘くなくて in an example sentence. このケーキは甘くなくて美味しい. This means this cake isn't sweet and it's delicious. Now as you can see, this sentence is very similar to what we learned with ないで, because ないで is dealing with actions where we're doing an action without doing another. But in this case, we're dealing with clauses or an idea. The idea is that the cake is delicious, but it's delicious even though it's not sweet. The cake is not sweet and it's delicious. So we're connecting a negative clause with another clause. Let's look at another example. お金がなくて旅行に行けなかった. お金がなくて旅行に行けなかった. In this case, the negative clause is that the person doesn't have money. お金がない, which is I don't have money. お金がなくて, and what happened? 旅行に行けなかった. I couldn't go on vacation or I couldn't travel. Therefore, お金がなくて旅行に行けなかった means I couldn't travel because I didn't have money. We're connecting a negative clause with another clause. So as you can see, in Japanese, we can say please do by using てください. And we can say please don't by saying ないでください. And I also taught you ないで and なくて, where we're connecting either an action and another action, where we're doing an action without doing another action, or we're connecting a negative clause with another clause. But that's the end of the lesson. If you learned something new and you enjoyed this lesson, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to participate in my Japanese to English language exchange Discord server, make sure to check the link down below. But until next time, またね.